All right, this week on the show, we are going to be fearlessly questioning creative business with my longtime friend acquaintance that we go way back together, Jeff JCK Clem of the band. He's the frontman, the ringleader of the band Made Myriad, and I've known Jeff for a long time. He dates back to those days that I've talked about here on the show often in the whole music space and covering bands and all that fun stuff. And I wanted to bring him on because I've known him for a long time. He's been working really hard at his career in music for a really long time. His band just released their first full-length album. They've released several EPs, is what we call them here in the music business. And have gone through several lineup changes and things like that, and always had a constantly revolving door of people that were in and out of the band. And I've worked with him on a number of different projects. And he not only is he a musician, but he's also a producer. He records bands and things like that. He is also and this is kind of more of his business that has evolved since I've really kind of had a chance to talk with him in depth. But it sounds like he is more on the management side, the label-ish side of things as well too. A lot of different areas where he kind of has some experience in the music business, in the creative business space. And I wanted to bring him on to kind of just talk about it, what it takes to, one, and the question that I'm going to ask really, and this is kind of the question for you all to think about throughout this conversation and leading up to it, is there enough creativity in your business, and is there enough business in your creativity? Being in that space for a while and seeing the financial challenges that most people face, it's really depressing because there are very few people that are make a decent buck and are able to support themselves doing what they love and creating that music, that art, if you will, and not fully being aware of that. And we want to talk about following our passions and doing what we love in our kind of buttoned up shirt and tie 9-to-5 jobs. I mean, these types of industries, the artists, the creative industries, they know more than anything following that passion and what it actually takes and the sacrifices that come along with that. And that's I think what I want to get at. And full disclosure, I have absolutely zero answers for this. I have thought probably more about this than I have a lot of things. And if I had a good answer, I probably would be doing something about it. In fact, I actually tried a very quick venture that never got off the ground. It was about a 2-3 month thing that it was involving surrounding music and a little bit of the business and marketing side of things. Never got off the ground, and that was actually the precursor to this whole fearlessly questioning thing. That, I guess, would probably be the closest thing that I could think to do to make money in the music space today, outside of actually playing in a band. And when there's creative works involved, a lot of times, when you're creating stuff, it's a collaboration. There are other people that have to take part. And there's a lot to be learned from there. How can you collaborate? How can you donate or, lend your talents, use your talents in a cohesive way with other people to create something that is kind of bigger than yourself, to sound a little philosophical, but it's very important because it's hard to do. When you give up a certain creative control or control really in any corner of any space of your life, it is a challenge. And to blend that seamlessly, to not only blend it, but also have it work in harmony, to use a music term, it's a terrible pun, but to have that happen, it's really tough. It's really challenging. And to constantly have the right people around you, I think that was probably one of my most depressing things about trying to play music with other people, is finding other like-minded people to play that music with. And also, you had to be in the same location geographically for the most part if you're ever going to get something off the ground. and that was a very real challenge. And obviously, traditional businesses, even untraditional businesses, don't face that same challenge, as they can work with people wherever they're at if they want to. And so that's kind of why I wanted to bring JCK on, is to kind of go deep into that and really understand it and see what we can get out of it, see what his experiences have been and what he has been able to accomplish. Again, launching this album, they've been working on it for a long time, well over a year. It's been in some sort of production. Actually, I know, because I actually heard the first few tracks over a year ago. So, I mean, the album has probably been recorded for close to a year and a half, I would say. And taking that time to craft something and let it sit and get it fully ready is something that we often don't do. But what I wanted to go deeper in, and this is really my little rant of the day, is understanding what you get paid for. And we often want to make it about the thing that isn't the most profitable, or the thing that is not leveraging our abilities to its greatest potential. And that is frustrating in and of itself. For the longest time, musicians would get paid for the actual music itself, for the actual recording of it. You would go buy the CD, you would go buy the tape, you would go buy the record, you would go buy these things, and that is what a majority of the transaction was based on. Then you had merchandise, and then you had live events, concerts. Those are the kind of the things that you had to hang your hat on. Well, now it's a little different. Now you're not necessarily making your money on that. Now, JCK, they released their latest album as Pay What You Want. We had Tom Morkis on during the launch of the show. The launch week, he was the 5th episode, so you can go back to fearlesslyquestioning.com/5-3, and that'll get you to Tom's episode where we talked about generosity and Pay What You Want pricing. And he kind of tells you his whole philosophy to it. But, JCK is pricing it for Pay What You Want. I don't really know. We'll ask him. But, again, it's about the music isn't necessarily what you're going to ultimately sell, because it has been devalued so much by just the evolution of technology and the digitalization, if you will, of the medium, to where people don't buy the physical media anymore. They just get it digitally delivered to them. And if you're looking to make a ton of money on an $8, $9, $10 download, it might not be there with all of the distribution, iTunes, Amazon, and those places taking their cut, not to mention, what you actually have in making the album. Just like kind of nobody really writes a book to make money on actually selling the book. It's what the book does. It's the doors the book opens. It's the perception that it brings. And I think people that are authors have a much better business model in place to capitalize on that than musicians, where musicians rely on basically astronomical amount of numbers to be able to make a decent living. So is it can you work in these creative spaces and build an audience per se that isn't the size of to fill out arenas across the country, to go on world tours, but still have an audience big enough to support you, to find out what it is, that thing that you're selling, that thing that the music is contributing to. I'm not too familiar with Jeff Goings, you guys might know, but he's a writer by trade per se, and he says it very, I guess, eloquently, and I think it really sums it up. He's like, he always wanted to get paid for his writing, but now he gets paid because of his writing. And it's a very interesting way to look at it. So it's any skill, whether you're acting, whether you're a musician, whether you're a writer, whether you are an artist, a painter, any type of painting, sketching, sculpting, anything like that. So are you getting paid because of your craft, or are you getting paid for your craft, or because of your craft, is the question that you would want to ask yourself. And it seems to me that it is highly more profitable to get paid because of your craft and not for the actual craft itself. What that leads to, again, I don't necessarily know. But those are the questions, those are the things that I'm constantly thinking about, and equating those to the business that I'm in, because I I still always view things through that same lens. I still have that, guy who wants to be a musician's lens. I can't take it off. I just still see everything through that, that creative lens, if you will. And some people might not. And that's where the second part of the question is, do you have enough creativity in your business? You're always looking for those step-by-step, paint-by-numbers things to happen, and you aren't approaching it as this highly creative thing that it is, and giving it that kind of respect for that process, and not allowing it to kind of take a life of its own and kind of evolve and transform and shape and things like that. So this is probably one of the most, I guess, kind of out there abstract things that we're going to get into. It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, maybe a little more geared towards those kind of creative professions, but I still think there's a lot to be gained from somebody just working in a traditional, whether it's a business and marketing environment, sales environment. I think that learning and kind of applying yourself to these other areas is only going to benefit you more than if you were to just continue to stay in and learn about those things within inside of those particular industries and things like that, because you need a different perspective. And I think this is just the perspective that's really going to do you good. So we're going to be talking with JCK on October 30th at 2 p.m. So I hope to have you come back to that. And of course, if you do want to hop in the show and ask JCK a question of your own, if you are an aspiring musician or creative of some kind, some of the best ways to capitalize on that creative ability, we can get into that as well. But otherwise, wherever you're finding this, if you do want to make sure that you don't miss out on any further Fearless questions, well, I would encourage you to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher. Of course, you can subscribe in YouTube as well. We do videos along with the podcasts. And of course, we have the live hangout that kind of is the tip of the sword, as I like to call it. And if you are finding this interesting, of value, you feel like you're getting something out of it, you feel like this is something that has really piqued your interest and you're getting something out of it, you want to support the show, the best way that you can support the show right now is to go to those platforms, iTunes and Stitcher, and leave us a review or a rating and tell other people that this might be something that could also help them as well. Because those are the indicators, those are the signals that continue to push the show up and push it out to other people, so we can, again, take this to more people and continue to grow it and to help others fearlessly question things that need to be fearlessly questioned in their lives. So I will go ahead and catch you guys on the live show with JCK on October 30th. Otherwise, take it easy. I'll see you then.